G'day there, Jared Nine here, Investor's Edge. I'm just going to take you through my due diligence questions now, give you a bit of background to each, so that you can start to get a feel for where to go to ask the questions and how to assemble all the right information so that you're making an informed decision. And you'll see the quote on the first page of the questions that money is made or lost before you buy based on your due diligence. Now, so many investors go out, buy or contract a property and then come to us for help or to start asking questions, but the time to do the diligence is definitely before you get that far. You need to work back from the renovated and end product values, factoring in all your costs, expenses, and your profit to arrive at your purchase price in the first place, so that you make sure that you don't overpay. And the questions will point you in the right direction, and I've put lots of detail in here so that you don't need to watch this video to remember when you're working it through. Also keep in mind that you don't need to know all the answers. This is a guide for where to get the answers, and we can certainly help you with the property price and property background related questions. We can also connect you with some good surveyors and builders to help you with answering the other questions. And in parts 2, 3 and 4 of this Perth Property Development Toolkit, you'll be given some of the other tools to help with answering the questions. So hang tight if you can't get your head around it all first, and just soak it all in, and all will become clearer in time. So, first question: where's the current zoning? What is the current zoning given on the council website? And confirm by asking the town planner. Now, I'll just take you through an example property so that you can really get the picture of things. Let's say we're looking at a property to purchase in High Wycombe. I'll use an example of one next door to one that I've done so that I can show you kind of the before it's subdivided and after it's subdivided. High Wycombe, you just need to work out which shire that or council that suburb is in, and that's in the Shire of Kalamunda. Now if you just go to Google and type City of Kalamunda, you can also find out from Google what council or shire a suburb is in, so with a bit of Googling you can get to here. And often there's a quick link on most of the council's search results for online mapping. So otherwise it's usually on their homepage, a link. It's one of the most used sections of a council website, so it's usually pretty easy to find. Here you can see online mapping, Intramaps link. We just click here. Now Intramaps should always be the more up to date than any of the documents that they have on their site for the current zonings. And it's important to remember as well that I never leave things to chance. I always call up the council, which will be one of our next, part of this question, next things to do, and we just confirm what we're seeing in front of us, and never take what a real estate agent says or what your friend says. You need to know for certain. When hundreds of thousands of dollars are on the line, you need to double check and cross check. So let's look up, you can see here the mapping system, and there's a little address bar usually at the bottom, and you can just type in the potential property that you're looking at. Let's say I'm just bringing up one for an example, and you can see here it's come up on the screen. This is a property that I had previously subdivided, renovated, and have sold both pieces of. So you can see how that's the front of the property, the back of the property, and this is one next door. So usually the mapping systems have modules, and you can see on the left here planning's one of them, aerial's another. If we just switch to aerial, you can see with the one that we've done how we've retained the front house, and it's got its own separate driveway off of the street, and then we've subdivided and built a strata property on the back. That was a 4x2 with theatre, and you can see how we've managed to keep that front house. And there's a lot of value in the house, so it usually works out better when you're doing a duplex if you can keep the house. Better for your return on investment. Now, looking at the property next door, we can see, imagine this one had come up for sale. Okay, we can see a number of things. We can see that there's a bit of side access, looking good. You can see that it's positioned far enough forward on the property to possibly allow a block. So that's what we're going to do a bit of investigating of now. And then if we click on the planning module, or it's sometimes called the zoning module, we can see that the current zoning for the property is R25. And so that answers our first part of our question. Check the current zoning on the website. Then we just give the council a call. And looking back at the Shire of Kalamunda, we can go to the Contact Us section and just call their main line here, 9257 9999. And what we do when we call the switchboard is that we ask to speak to a town planner, and once we get through to them, or the reception may ask, what is your query regarding? You give them the property address, and then you say you want to check the zoning and a few other questions. So she may answer what the current zoning is, and if you then move to question 2, you can confirm that what what their mapping system is telling us. So it'll either be R25 or something different. So once we've confirmed that, we can put that into our questions. And then we move on to part 2. Ask the town planner if there's any proposed zoning changes. Now this is key because this is where you can uncover changes that are going to affect its value. The real estate agent in most cases won't have even rang the council and asked this, and in my experience it's not usually shown on their websites. So ring and always ask the question, is there any proposed zoning changes? And then if there is, ask the time frame, the expected time frame. And often if it's imminent, they won't be able to give you an exact time frame, but if it's very, very close to happening, that's a great sign that the value will also jump if you can get extra sites on the property later. But really, if it's out beyond 18 months, if it's going to happen longer than that, there really isn't certainty on that change. So I wouldn't be necessarily buying the property and expecting that to go through. Many things can happen in the planning process to delay it many years, or for it not to happen at all. So usually if it's inside 6 months, that's where I feel a bit more comfortable that it's going to happen. So you can also ask them, how likely is it to go through? And these guys get calls all day asking these questions. They have someone on roster to take the calls. It's part of their job, and they're very helpful at every council across Perth. So don't be afraid to give them a call and get it from the horse's mouth. You can also uncover, if you're actually looking for areas in a suburb that do have potential. There's different documents outlining proposed future changes in town planning schemes. We are also very clued in, and I've got different tools to see where these changes are happening across Perth, so feel free to get in touch with me if you've got a specific budget and areas in mind. And you can also ask the town planner that question, do you know of any proposed areas in your council that are coming up for zoning change over the next 6 months? And they'll be only too happy to answer. So next question, using the average site areas given in the R code zoning table, how many sites can the property be divided into? So we could see, going back to the mapping system, that this property is 907 square metres, up the top there, top right. And if we check our zoning table, we can see that under R25 you need an average here, just looking across, of 350 square meters and a minimum of 300. So at 350 square meters, that means that we need 1,050 square meters for a triplex or 700 square meters for a duplex. And you can see that at 900 we're not quite 1,050, and we're not even close enough for an exception to be made. So it's definitely a duplex property. If you found out that there was a proposed zoning change when you chatted to council, then you can look at how many sites that's going to be and factor that into your diligence. So we write here average 350, number of sites is the property area divided by the average, and we come up with, if it's 2 and a bit, you can only get 2 sites. If it's 3 and a bit, you can only get 3. So you have to go to the nearest site that it'll fit. So, next question, number 4, can the house likely be retained? Now this is when we're doing a duplex, we really want to try and retain the house. The things to check is side setback, and you usually need 4 metres. Sometimes you can get away with as little as 3 metres. Chat to the council if you're less than 4 metres. It depends on whether you've got windows and door openings on the side of the house as to what the exact setback requirement will be. And we also look at what the minimum zoning area is and check that the house can fit on that. So with R25 we need a minimum area of 300. So that means that the front block or the back block can't be less than 300 square meters. Now if we switch back across to the aerial, you'll find some really great tools here. You click on the tools section, and we've got a measure area button, and most councils will have a similar thing. So if we clicked first of all and just checked if we're going to get enough area to keep the house, I'm just going to allow for a bit of a setback on that back fence. You can see that the area does. I'm leaving space, and there we go. We can see that the area of that will be 386 square meters down in the bottom right with the dimensions that I've laid out. So that's really good. Notice that I only took it to the edge of the property, not up to the. This is the council's verge on the front, so we've taken it to the full edges of the property. So 386 with our minimum area is 300. We've met that, and then we can double check. We know that the total area for the lot was 911, I think. So if you get your calculator out and do a quick calculation, 911 minus 386 square meters is going to leave 525 for this back lot, including the driveway. So that's going to meet the minimum area as well. So in this case, the house looks to be retainable based on the area check. We can also then just switch across to the measurement tool and do a quick aerial measurement check that we're going to have enough side access. So it looks to have about 4.5 meters. Now you can measure that when you go on site, and also think creatively, because this one's got a carport there. It looks like we can retain the carport, keep single carport parking, and still get enough side access. But sometimes what you may be able to do is knock down the carport or part of the house and put parking out the front here off of the street, as others have done over here, over the road, and then and then get you enough side access that way. So first few things are looking good for this property. Can the house likely be retained? Yes. What will the end product likely be worth? Now this is one to chat with us about. We can look at similar what end products are selling for in the area, check sales data. If you're looking at building a 4x2, we can look up what other comparables have sold for, and just give you an insight. And we'll chat to you about what you plan to do to the front house, and then we can factor in and work out a renovated selling price for the front. And obviously, if you're doing more than a duplex, we can chat about what else, what all the end products are going to be worth. Same applies if you're doing apartments. We just look at comparables, and we've regularly sold in most suburbs of Perth, and it's very quick for us to get up on that. And it's good to, even if you go and browse realestate.com to get an idea of this, it's always good to have an independent check from us just to confirm your thoughts. You don't have to go it alone. So, number 6, how much is the end product likely to rent for? This will help work out whether you can keep the property, and also what your what your holding costs are going to be. That'll come into your plan as to whether you're going to sell one part or both parts, or keep them for some time to reduce your tax. Separate discussion for your accountant. Next question: what would the property likely rent for now? Now, what's usually the best thing to do is go in and do your renovation at the start, and put the fence up at the start, and then rent the property out. Other option is put the fence up still, so that you've got your separate area and it's clear, and your tenant is being kept out of any building that's going on. And you can choose to rent the property, say, for 6 months, and then do your renovation before you sell it. It just depends what your plan for it is. I like to do the renovation at the start and then rent it out, and then sell both on completion of the build. So that can help you determine your holding costs. And remember, if there's too much going on, and this can often be the case if you're splitting and dividing a property at the rear. If too much is going on around with the building, and they're putting stuff on the front lawn, and they're making an absolute mess, and they've got the noise, you will have to charge a reduced amount for that period, and let the front tenant know what to expect, so that you don't get a very upset tenant post fact. Seen that happen to a few investors before. So we can also help with your property management side of things, managing in 128 suburbs across Perth, and being one of the most awarded property managers. We can certainly make sure you set things up so that you're not going to have any headaches. Now, next part, this is a prompt to work out the approximate cost to subdivide and build. And you do this by checking with your surveyor for the subdivision side of the costs. If you're using a builder with built strata, then you can get them to handle the majority of the process, and you can get a lot of feedback from them on what the costs are going to be, so they can prepare a quote for you. And it's probably good to many builders will probably just give you an indication before you buy the property, and it's going to be thereabouts on that cost. In the example feasibility templates that you'll get in the coming emails, that'll show you approximate costs as well. So you should have a lot to go with there. Approximate cost to renovate. Don't forget about the renovation cost in working out your overall profit, and that's if any renovations required to the front house. What is the property's current market value to buy as is? Now, we don't care so much about what the asking price for the property is. What we care about is what other similar properties have been selling for to place its values. So check with us to confirm other comparable prices and get an idea of that. An agent can list it above market, can list it below market, and and it's good to know where things sit and how much competition you're likely to have on a property. Now, an asking price is also never what a property is going to sell for. So focus more on what similar stuff's been selling for, and not so much it's at what they're asking. What price, now this is a critical one, what price would you need to purchase to make it worthwhile? Now, using our other feasibility examples spreadsheets, you can see an example of how to work back and factor in your profit. There are other more in-depth feasibility programs around that you can use, but you definitely need to come up with your price based on all these costs, stamp duty, holding costs, your cost to renovate, cost to subdivide, and cost to build, and then arrive at your purchase price. And look, that may be below what they're asking. It may be above what they're asking. So at least then you know what you can pay up to and choose your walk away point before you get involved in a negotiation. The last thing you want to do is get wrapped up in a negotiation, get emotional about it all, and then overpay and be doing the project just for love and not for profit. So if you love property that much, find other things, watch property TV shows. So number 12, how long has the property been on the market for? What price and when did they buy it for? Check with us to get this selling history. We can give you the background, and this will really help with your negotiation. If a property's been on the market for a long time, say more than 90 days in this market, then an owner is possibly going to be more open to negotiation on the property and looking at a lower offer. If it last sold for a price that's close to what they're asking, then that may also give you some an indication as to what they're going to need to move forward. Many sellers try to get back what they last paid plus their costs into the property. If you ask them if they've done any renovations as well since buying it, that may give you an indication as to what they're hoping for. If they've owned the property for 10 plus years and they've got some decent equity in it, then they may be able to look at lower prices if they really need to move on. And that last sold date will also give you some background to how long they've been in there. And if they've quickly bought and sold, I'd also be wanting to find out the reason for that. Is there a bad neighbour or a extremely loud dog or something, or is the area put them off, and is that their real reason for moving? So do a bit of digging with the selling agent to find out. And then finally number 13, and this is an important one. If all the other things check out and it looks like you're going to make an offer, always do a check of the services, water, sewer and power. The easiest way to do that is with a website called Dial Before You Dig. I may put together a bonus email on how to do that. Otherwise you can check and ask your surveyor that you're working with to do a quick check of where those are. I've seen many investors get extremely burnt by thinking that they've got services close by, finding out that the sewer isn't at the direct front or back of the property, and then having to extend a sewer to get it into a property to subdivide it. That can be the most costly thing to do and destroy your whole profit and reason for purchasing the property. So you really do need to check those services. But if the other things don't work out, you don't want to be ordering a services check on every property you're looking at. So that's why I leave it for the end question. Now that hopefully didn't hurt your head too much. It's let it digest. We're here to help, and this is really just a guide. So get in touch with us when you are looking at developing any property, and make sure you look at these things before you purchase.